Good evening, everybody. We're going to get going in a couple of minutes. Just going to wait for a few more people to come into the room. If you're on YouTube, then I can't see your chat. So if you'd like to attend the webinar and be able to chat to me, then you'll need to go to the acy.com website and register for this webinar and then come into the webinar room. All right. So if you're on the live stream at the moment, I'm unable to answer your questions. So I'm just going to give a couple more minutes for a few more people to come in before we get going. So just bear with me for a few minutes. In fact, it'll take me a few minutes to go through the disclaimer, so we'll get going. So welcome everybody to this evening's ACY Securities webinar. I'm going to be doing a Forex market live analysis tonight. Before we do that, if you can read through the disclaimer, that would be great. So any trade examples that I might be showing tonight, trade setups, are there for educational purposes only. If you think it's a good trade to take, that's down to yourself and down to your own rationale and reasoning. You're rationing the potential risk on the trade before you take it. All right, let's move along. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor at ACY Securities. I'm a full-time Forex trader. I've been trading the Forex market now for 15 years or more. And I've been mentoring clients for more than 10. If you need to contact me, you can get me at the email address on screen, duncan.cooper@acy.com. And if you want to follow me, you can get me at the website, acy.com on the market news tab, and I think as well on the education tab. YouTube channel, you can find me on the ACY Securities Australia channel. My analysis and education material is getting put up there as the weeks roll by. And you can connect with me on Twitter and LinkedIn. Those are my handles there. And we're going through the beginner webinar series. We've covered 2, 4, 5 topics. Tomorrow evening, Thursday, 8 p.m. Sydney time, we'll be going through pivot points. You'll see those on my charts tonight. Yesterday evening went through trend lines. Next week, next Tuesday, I'm going to go through the figure. I might talk about the figure a little bit tonight. And on Thursday next week, we're going to go through Fibonacci. So I'm actually going to be probably using all those things on the chart, on that slide in front of us tonight as I'm going through and analyzing. Now, if you don't know what they are, that doesn't matter. You can catch up in the webinars and learn those tools. And we're going to be going through some other things as well over the coming weeks. Taking through 3 trade setups. Just excuse me one moment. All right, so I'm going to be taking through 3 types of trade setups and some other tools, MACD, average true range, session opening times, and a new webinar we haven't done before called Risk and Trade Management, number 15 on the list. All right, so let's get into tonight's session. Now, to show you my charts, if you haven't seen my charts before, I'm just looking at the list of people. Might have somebody on there that doesn't know my charts. So if you don't know my charts, you can download them, put them into the MT4 platform. So I'm just going to give you a link that you can use. Bear with me a moment. There we go. That's in the chat. So the first link is to download a file. So I'm just going to go to my desktop, download this WinRAR MT4 webinar configuration file, double click on it. And then within it, there are some folders. They need to be moved to the MT4 platform. And there's a video in here, 2-minute video of how to do it. Now, this is a WinRAR file. You'll need WinRAR software to download it. It's a free download. You should be able to also open it with WinZip, but I know some people have been having some trouble. So just download WinRAR if you don't have it. It is a free software. Then you'll be able to move those folders out into the for program file or folder, and then you'll be able to configure your charts like mine. If you want to follow along, just watch the video. It only takes 2 minutes. All right, getting into the charts. Been quite a roller coaster over the course of the last 24 hours. Prices have been moving quite nicely up or down on the pairs. And we're just having a pullback at the moment. So the question is the pullback that we're having just minor, just short term? And then are we going to be moving back down with the trends that we've been seeing? So I just want to go to the Aussie dollar. I actually took a trade just to talk about in the webinar tonight, just to show you a concept. Some red lines here, but we've got the 7,300 level on the Aussie dollar. The day chart trend is down, which we'll get to in a moment. And I saw this coming back up as a rally. We already failed early in the day at the 7,300 level, traded down. So I saw it coming back up, and I thought that would be a good setup to show. I'd actually took it on first contact at 73, sold it at 73, stop at 73.20. When it got up about 12 pips, I took the risk out. And since then, there's been a break of a trend line, MACD cross. So somewhere in through this area here, you could be looking to trade down if you thought that was a good setup in line with the day chart trend. But I've been able to initiate a sell at the figure, and I will be teaching you about the figure next week. So the figure, the 100 numbers, 100 pip numbers can act as strong support or resistance depending on the trend. So there's been a setup there. Let's go through the chart though, and just take you through from the monthly. I'm looking at the monthly chart here as a lower top, broken a minor bottom here to a lower bottom. Had a couple of months up. I'm expecting this month to be down and continue down. I've put in the monthly support here at 71.06 just so I know where it is. MACD's crossed down, so the trend is clearly down for me on that monthly chart. Weekly has been showing an uptrend. However, that's just a rally against the monthly. And I'm expecting this will come down over time and break 71.70 weekly support. Just going to put that in there because it'll probably bounce at 71.70. So you should have all the good levels in from the monthly and weekly charts, so you know where price might bounce. We're a long way from that today, but it's worth having it on there so you know where it is. So tonight's webinar, I'm going to go through levels that I'm watching. And something might not be setting up today, but I'm showing the levels that I'm watching as prices moving up or down. Now to the day chart, what I'm seeing is clearly lower tops and bottoms. We had a rally 2 or 3 days ago, and we held at this level of 73.59 resistance. Obviously, we can't go back in time and trade there, but just to show you where price rallied back to. Lower tops and bottoms moving down. Broken level of support becomes new resistance. And it did trade a few pips above, but that held as resistance, and we moved down and broken day support here at 72.76, having a bit of a bounce there. Might just put that level in as well. That's where we're bouncing at the moment. All right, MACD is clearly down. Good angle and separation, lower tops and bottoms, just having a bounce on day support in the short term. 4-hour chart, we've got lower tops, move to a lower bottom. Now this could rally up further. That's why I got the risk out of the trade, because I could draw a fib from the last lower top to the current low. We are bouncing on day support, and we might come back down a day support here at 72.76, hold, and want to move up the range. That's why I got the risk out of the trade. So I'm just going to drop to the 15-minute chart so you can see the fib. There's daily support. So from my entry point, I've got a good 23 pips to support. I'm already risk-free, and I'm just waiting to see can it break support. All right. The problem with trading where price is at the moment, we already know that day support is offering some support. So selling too close to it means that you can't manage your trade in case it pulls up short of support. So I always like, ideally, if I'm risking 20 pips, to have 40 pips ahead of myself so that I can actually take profit if I want to. But here you can probably get in, well, where I got in, I had 20 pips of room at least, 24 pips of room before support. So I had plenty of time To manage the trade, which I've already done. So if this holds its support and bounces back up, it's a risk-free trade. But the long-term trend at the moment on this Aussie is down. Now, if it does bounce further up, then I'm going to be watching the 62% level or the 79% level of that 4-hour range to see what price does at those levels. Does it hold and fail and move back down? Look for a trend line break to trade to the downside. Also, I can see we've got the central pivot here, just a little bit short of today's projected high if we move further up. So we're in a strong downtrend. I'll be watching the central pivot for failure, the 62 level and the 79 level. These 62, 79 levels may still be current tomorrow. So you can watch those levels over the next 24 hours. I just want to go to the dollar yen first of all, see what it's doing. Now, the dollar yen was selling down from major resistance. Take it to the monthly chart. At the moment, it's about 50, probably about, just trying to work it in my head. It's about 14 pips above this major area of resistance here on the monthly. And I've actually traded down a few times from that area with the idea that maybe it's going to trade down the range. It could still do. Where it is at the moment, 14, 15 pips above that major area of resistance. This is an area where the market hasn't been in for quite a while. Just pausing because I've got a message. Yep, Stephen, good evening. Yeah, big sell on the Aussie dollar. Yeah, that's all good. So dollar yen, we're in an area at the moment where the market hasn't been for a long time. So the air for the buyers up there might be a bit thin because they may be a little bit wary of, well, can I be a buyer up there or can I hold a bought position up there, when quite clearly it's where the sellers have been sitting for the best part of, you know, some of these tops up here back to 2017. So back, you know, 4 hours, sorry, not 4 hours, but 4 years, the market's been holding at this area. So we're going to need some conviction by the buyers, for me anyway, before I can contemplate being a buyer in this area. So we're at major resistance. Yes, we're above it. Weekly, monthly trends are up. We're above that. We've got higher top, higher bottoms, MACD's up. The question is, can this continue up and through for the long term? We're in a similar situation on the pound yen a few weeks ago, if not maybe a month ago, where it broke above its major resistance area. And it was above it for a few days, couldn't hold, and it fell straight back down. So that's what's concerning me here. We might get the same event. Hi, Nathan. How are you doing? Now, we're obviously above there at the moment. Having a bit of a small trading day at the moment, we may end up with a little bit of a spinning top on the day chart. We may end up closing back below 114.72. That's the monthly resistance level. So I'm just watching at the moment to see what price is doing. For this to move further up, I'd need to see some very strong price action first of all. Moving up. And then the area to become support on a pullback on the day chart. And then it moves further up again. All right, so until I see that, I'm not going to be buying in that area. If I see it reject healthily, then I am going to be looking for opportunities to sell. But at the moment, it's not presenting me with anything to do other than to watch and to know that I'm at a major area of resistance at the moment that the market's trying to move through. The 4-hour chart, it's in an uptrend. But if you see on the 4-hour chart that this starts to come down, put in the lower top, comes back into this resistance area. So that's monthly resistance. This is a monthly, weekly resistance, I think, at 114.54 if you go back in time as well. If it comes back into this area, it comes back up to 14.72, for example. This is what price will often do. Then hold, and then starts to move back down. Then I'm going to be looking for a sell on that pair. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. At the moment, we're just a wait and see. Does it want to move up and through and hold above for the long term or not? All right. So with that in mind, let's go left. In fact, let's just go to the pound. I took another trade here just to show you, and this is a demo account. So I'm just taking trades just to show the idea of what you could be doing. I don't show my live account in the webinar because you can see my live account number. So I always do it in the demo account just so that sometimes I can put some trades on and just show from an educational point of view what you could be doing. So I'll explain what I did in a moment, but just to show you what the trends are. And let me just get rid of that fib so we can see price. Monthly is just underneath these monthly tops here. It's a bit hard to see because of the lines, but there's a top at 135.14 that we're underneath, and there's a top to the right at I'll get it on the weekly chart. There's another monthly top there. I think it's about 134.81, but I'll get the exact number in a moment. And we're just holding below this monthly top here. So is that now acting as resistance? So we'll be moving down. MACD's crossed down. Weekly chart trend is clearly down. 3 lower tops, lower bottoms on the weekly. And that's that monthly top just there. It is at 134.82. I was a pip out. MACD's quite clearly down. Question is, can this move further down the chart? Weekly trend's down. Daily trend is down. Quite clear, got lower tops, lower bottoms. It's just bouncing back up. Had another sniff just short of that 134.82 area. The monthly old resistance top should be support, what we broke back below it, so it's becoming resistance once more. So is 134.82 going to hold as an area of resistance? It is at the moment. For our chart, it's a little bit range bound. We came up to test the high from a lower point. So theoretically, the trend to the downside, it's a lower bottom to a double top. I saw that reject about an hour ago. And the 1 hour chart here, see the big rejection candle. And put a fib across that range. What I saw was that price was starting to fail at 79% area. The next 1 hour candle was just touching the 79% level. This current one isn't touching the 79 level. So I'm looking at the 79% level as a level of resistance for price to trade back down the range, maybe to the 127 extension, maybe down to daily support down here. So my bias is to the downside. What I wanted to do is just show you that I started to see it fail at 79% level. So I clicked in with a 20 pip stop. When it traded down, came back up, fell once more to this area. I took the risk out, and now I'm just waiting to see if that can move down the range. So I was using the 79% area there as a resistance level. Once I started to see price wanting to hold at that level, I thought, okay, that's worth showing that trade example to you and see how it runs. Now, from a trend line break perspective, it's a bit difficult on this pair because price has been moving up so quickly, so the ranges are quite large. You know, if you're waiting for a break of this trend line and putting your stop above the high here, you're going to need a 38 pip stop, so that's way too large. So that wouldn't be a trade that I would consider because the risk is too large, but just showing you where the current trend line would be for a break. All right, I'm just looking at who's on tonight. Alufame, up here yesterday, mate, you and I was discussing trend lines in a 4 hour channel. And we were looking at a trend line break up here at the top of that resistance area. And you can see it move down nicely. So I just wanted to, you know, hopefully you followed that along through the course of yesterday from what we were discussing. And Stephen, you're talking to me about the Aussie Yen. All right, so I've covered the pound dollar there. Long term, for me at the moment, it's in the downtrend. It could still go up a bit deeper. I could still be watching up here and move this back to the 4 hour chart. If price moves further up today, I would still be watching 134.82, even up to the 135 level for that area to be resistance. And as well, this range here is last week's candle. And often what price will do is before it does move down to put a fresh weekly low in, it will rally back up within the weekly candle, often to the 62. That's at 135.09, or even deeper to the 79% level at 135.52. I'm not expecting it to get that deep. Could get though up to the 135 level, 135.09 if it really wants to. So those are some levels that you can monitor. Of course, at the moment, I'm seeing on the lower time frame, it's failing at the 79% level. But it's a bit choppy. That's why on that trade example I'm showing you, I've got the risk out. And if it wants to chop back up, it'll just take me out at break even. All right, I'm going to go to the Aussie Yen and move from left side to right through the pairs that I'm watching at the moment. All right, let's go to the monthly. And I've had these lines in before, but we're failing at this top at monthly top at 85.80. Trend actually on the monthly is up, but are we putting in a double top? I did a video on this, not this week, but last week, last Tuesday, saying we've got a possible double top here, which is a bit clearer to see on the weekly. We had 3 weekly candles holding at the monthly top. We've got weekly resistance here, 85.18, that we as well couldn't hold at. And are we going to move down for the long term from that area? Time will tell. And as well, this weekly MACD here is not a new high to this high here. That's a higher price point to that price point, but not on the indicator. So maybe a negative diversion showing there. And long term, if we do have a double top, it's going to take a while before we get there. I'm looking down here at 69.90. I actually managed to get short at 85, which I'm trying to hold to see if it will trade down the range, first of all, to this level of support at 77.85. If that breaks, then I'm going to try and hold tight for a move down to 69.90. That would be great if we could do that, but time will tell. Price may, though, just want to pop up here longer term. The trend on the weekly still is up in terms of higher tops and bottoms, so I'm very much aware of that. But I was able to execute higher up and risk-free, so I'm just waiting to see if it wants to continue down. Now, the first hurdle will be 82.019, weekly support, if this wants to continue down. Day chart, the trend at the moment is lower top to a lower bottom, and if we do have a rally up, this area of broken support 84.59.9 would be a good level to watch for a sell if it fails up there. Obviously, we're miles away from that, and price might not get up to that level. So I'm just putting in some levels at the moment that you can be watching over the next 7 days. Then we'll get into a closer price action. And Stephen, you're saying you've sold the Aussie Yen and you're already in profit. Well, that's great. All right, so trend is down the daily. We've been having 3 positive days and we're on a negative day today. So maybe this is putting in the lower top here, may never get up to 84.59. Time will tell. For our chart here, it's actually an uptrend, but that may be a bit of an aberration now because MACD's crossed down. I actually think that prices moved down, rallied, and he's probably putting in a lower top to move down that way. Okay, so that being said, I'm just going to move down to the time frames, and we've had a rally back up on the 1 hour. We had a bit of higher top to price action here, a bit of negative divergence on the 1 hour chart as it put in that top. And what we're finding intraday on the 15 is that we're getting resistance at the central pivot. Held here early Tokyo time, fraction short of central pivot held. Now, we had a negative day yesterday, and then into the new day, if all we can do is get up to the central pivot point and hold, that's very weak for the pair, and we're probably going to trade down for the rest of the day to the low of where we've been to in probability terms. And drawing a fib from this high down to that low, as I said, I think prices moved down, rallied, and going to move down. We've failed at the 62 area, very close to the central pivot. That's why I think we're moving down, putting in a lower top on the 4 hour chart. So in terms of where to trade, well, up here would have been a great area, but it's too late. So what I would have to say is, now there's been a trend line breakthrough there, and you could have jumped on board, but can't go back in time. Don't have a TARDIS. So that being said, we will have to wait for a new setup. So looking at it tomorrow, I'd be looking at what does price do. If we have a very negative day down today from the central pivot, what does price do tomorrow at the central pivot? Look for price to rally back to the central pivot, fail, and then an opportunity to trade down in line with the day chart trend, which is down. All right. I don't like to chase price. I mean, I could click in right now and trade down to the low of the day, and it could just keep going down all day long, but I don't like to chase price. If you do, that's entirely up to you. All right, Aussie dollar. This is heading back down to support. We've already covered this one. Just wanted to see what it's doing. So we've had a good trend line break. If you took it, then you'd be up about 10 pips. And you're heading towards day support now. So if you did take that sort of trade, you want to get the risk out, because if that day support holds, it's going to move back up. Just want to check my chat. We have a question box, but everybody likes to use the chat box, which is fine. Horatio asked about if stop loss is so large in the pound dollar, we will take, trade, or avoid. I think I covered that. I said I would just avoid it because the risk was almost 40 pips. I don't like to risk more than 25 pips, generally speaking. Sometimes I'll risk 30 pips on the pound dollar, but not 40 pips. All right, I think everybody's chat covered. All right, Euro Yen, just on the monthly chart here. Monthly area here at 113.12, which we've failed twice at. The trend is up on the monthly, but this MACD might cross down after this month, and we could be failing at that area to turn the monthly chart down. Time will tell. On the weekly, the trend is up, but quite clearly we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks straight down from the area of resistance at 133.12, so that's negative. And it couldn't hold at that level of weekly support. I discussed that last week, that would be critical for that pair to move back up from if the trend is going to remain 137.36, and it couldn't hold at that level. So that's weak for the pair. Now we'll be anticipating this is going to be moving down to this area of support here at 127.923. All right. On the daily, lower tops and bottoms. It's a bit of extended here on the daily, many candles down. So this weekly level of support that got broke, expect that to become resistance on any move back up. So at the moment, I'm not trading this pair, but I am watching to see what does price do at 137.73 if it gets back to that area, because that would be a great area to trade down from, because I expect that to become new resistance. So maybe price is going to have a couple of days up, hold, put in the lower top on the daily and trade down for the next move down to 127.92. For our chart, it's a bit choppy in here, so this might be just getting ready to move back up to 130.73. Now, you could go counter trend if that's your trading style. For me, I like to trade in line with the trend. So the trend is down on the daily, so I'm not going to go counter trend. Like these crossing up here too, so as I say, I might expect a day up maybe or two to 130.73, and then what does it do at that area? And when I was doing the webinar last week, it was kind of here and it moved below the level of 130.73. See how it became resistance? This is where you should have been looking to sell for that move down. So look for it to come back up and be resistance once more in that area, show some negativity, and then look for an opportunity to trade down. Euro dollar. I did a video analysis review of this pair this week. You can find it on the ACY website and YouTube channel. And clearly in a downtrend here on both the monthly chart, lower tops moving down to a lower bottom, weekly chart, lower tops, bottoms. Back in May, I highlighted this double top up here. And on this candle here, I was discussing that maybe we should be looking to sell at failed at 122 to trade down to support at 117.04. And then I said back in August, If that level breaks through, we're then looking to trade down to the double top price rejection, which is at 111.64, which we're heading towards. So this has been a good forecast from up here, and it's been a really good pair to trade down towards that double top pattern. Still room to get down there. So that double top forecast is at 111.64, lines up with a minor weekly level of support here at 111.68.1. Daily chart. Trend is quite clearly down, lower tops and bottoms. Now, in my analysis this week, I was looking potentially for, and it could still do it over a week or two, the price to come back up to this area of broken support. That's at 115.13. So at the moment, I know it's miles away from there, but never say never. Price could have a week up, come back up to 115.13. If it does, I'm going to be watching that level for an opportunity to trade down. I can stop moving that line. That'll be great. 115.13. So quite clearly down. Now we've had many days down. Price doesn't normally go for many days down before it then pulls back. See how we had many days up, then it pulls back. So don't expect this to have another 5 days down. It could, but highly unlikely. Expect this maybe to pull back. Maybe it's only going to pull back within the 4-hour range from the last top to the current bottom. Could come up to 79. Could come up to this little area of broken support at 114.33. 79 is at 114.20. Maybe it just comes up to 114.100. All right, but I would like to see that rally back up to a high level before engaging, because this is way, way overextended in the short term. Of course, it can keep moving down. If you're happy to keep following price down, that's great. Now, looking at the last 2 trading days, I'm going to cover pivot points, I think, tomorrow's webinar. And I'll be discussing the central pivot point in the strong trend. The market only gets to it and then fails and then moves down or up depending on the trend. This is a downtrend, so this is very strong downtrend. It's not getting to the central pivot. Yesterday moved down. Today we're not getting to the central pivot. So if you did think about wanting to engage on this pair, I would be looking at the central pivot for failure. Look to engage higher up within the pivot point range. Fail at the central pivot point. That would be a high probability area to trade down from. Currently, for me, it hasn't got there yet, so I just feel like it's a bit too low down in the day's pivot point range. But we may well get a trend line break here. Could break below 1300. You just have to work out for yourself how far are you prepared to sell this pair down at the lower price points. You know, for me, it's a little bit low. I'd like to be further up the range to sell down. All right, just going to have a look at my chat. All right, Harish, you're asking me which would be the ideal trade that I would like to take. Well, I'm telling you the levels that I'm looking at on all the pairs at the moment. There's not necessarily a pair that I'm ideally wanting to trade. I'd love to trade the dollar-yen actually down from resistance that I showed you if it does fail there. I think that could, if it fails there, we could be dealing with a major double top. It's not proved itself yet, so that's the pair that I'm really watching. But then all the pairs that I'm showing you, the levels that I'm giving you, I'd be prepared to trade at any of those levels on failure if they got there. Right this second, I've already showed you the Aussie dollar failing at the 73, but you can't go back in time. All right, so let's keep moving along. Just on the euro dollar. Pound yen. I was talking about this before about failing at monthly resistance up here when I was talking about the dollar yen, 156.598. Is this got above for at least a week and then fell back down. It's actually monthly chart look, but when we get to the weekly chart, you'll see that we closed above on the weekly, traded further up the next week, but then we couldn't hold and then we've fallen back down. Now it is getting some support at the moment on the weekly high just there at 152.846. Weekly trend is still up. So if you think this pair is going to break through that level of resistance at the top on the next retest, then you should have been looking to be a buyer on weekly support here. And the day chart trend has turned back to up in the short term. So we are weekly chart, day chart trend up. If your bias is to the upside, then you should be looking for opportunity to buy for a break of resistance at the top. Just going to go to the 4-hour chart. Back to the daily. I just want to put this area of daily support in here, 53.742. So if you're bullish on this pair, you need 53.742. I think I put in 74.3, but it's close enough. That area to hold on any pullback. So on your 4-hour chart, which is in an uptrend, any pullback on this 4-hour chart should hold its 153.74. And then in that area, you should be looking for an opportunity to trade up. It moving back below 153.74 is kind of weak for the pair. If that's going to happen, it's probably going to give this weekly support on the test, and it may then break further south. So at the moment, I'm not seeing anything I want to trade. Pulling back to 153.74 and then dropping down to the 15-minute chart. If I saw that hold trendline break to the upside, that would be a setup. But at the moment, we're not there. So time will tell. Obviously, we can look at the candles now on the 15-minute chart, and it's doing some pullback. So you could watch 153.74. Does it hold? If we get to that level, we will have done today's range. So price will be stretched down there at 153.74. So I would expect to bounce there. So if you could get a very close entry, not risking more than 20 pips or so, and you can get the risk out real quick. And then you can see whether that support level is going to hold for a further move up. But if it breaks back below 153.74, really then it's heading down towards 152.84 weekly support down here. And then that could hold once more and you could trade back up. But if that then fails, you're really looking to trade the downside, because then all your support levels are failing. So yes, this is going negative down here at the moment, but I won't be trading down because the day chart trend is up. So I'm not seeing a setup to sell. You could see a setup down here to buy in line with the day chart trend. All right, I'm just going to check my chat. And Nathan, you're saying, well, yeah, there could be a setup here at the central pivot. Central pivot overlaps with the projected low. So we have a bit of a confluence area there. That would be a level that, yes, could hold. But the key area that definitely has to hold is 153.74. So there's a couple of levels there, 153.74 or the central pivot, 153.86 with today's projected low. Right, pound dollar, it's still wanting to move down the range. It's a bit choppy, but it hasn't come back up and tagged my entry. We've covered that pair already. And I'm going to get into the New Zealand yen. And I'm going to go to the monthly chart just to show you. Monthly chart trend is up, but it's holding at monthly resistance here at 81.55, and it's holding on monthly support at this old top at 80.17.8. All right. So the question is, are we failing at resistance, or are we going to move below monthly support and start to break down? Or are we going to move above? The weekly chart is in an uptrend. This high point here to that last high point isn't replicated on the MACD. This high area here is lower to that area, so that is a bit negative. Maybe we are failing for a reversal. Day chart is showing you lower tops and bottoms. And what I noticed before I came on is you could draw a fib from that top. When I say lower tops and bottoms, that's actually a higher top, but we've moved through this higher bottom to a lower bottom. That changes the trend to down. And that's the current downtrend range on the daily. If we move back up, then the 62 area is a bit short of monthly resistance, the 79's fraction above. So that whole area there, I'd be watching if we did have a rally up to see what it does there. Does it fail there? Because if it fails there at monthly resistance, that's where you want to be looking to trade down from. Right now, the trend is down, but if you want to be aggressive, you could say, well, support's holding there on the monthly top. I want to trade up, but you are going counter to what we're seeing on the daily. What does the 4-hour chart tell us? 4-hour chart at the moment is in an uptrend. It's actually put in a higher bottom. So it's moved up to 2 higher tops, higher bottom forming on that support area, the monthly top, and it is trading up at the moment. So you've already missed the boat there to get in, and the opportunity to get in would have been in yesterday. You had that area of support drawn in. You would have started to see a lot of choppy price action at the area of support. Would have seen a trend line break, and then obviously it's been moving up. Price action is a bit negative at the moment. Now, if this is actually a failure here, let's just move back to the 4-hour, because that looks a bit negative. This could be back. This could have moved down, bounced on support. This could be putting in a lower top. There's a bit of a top there that we're holding at. Could be a minor left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And this could be moving down. So the question is, does price today hold above 80.17? If it doesn't, that's negative. If it does, that's positive, and we could be moving up. All right, so it's just stuck in between monthly support and monthly resistance there. But that 4-hour candle at the moment doesn't look very positive. If very good, strong buying support's coming in on this area, and then we're moving up, you'd really like to see this just move straight through and up above that top, which is not doing at the moment. So tomorrow, if we put in a very negative daily candle, then maybe expect support to break, and then you're looking for opportunities to trade down. All right. I'd like to be a bit clearer, but it's just stuck between monthly support and resistance, and it's working out which way to trade. I mean, the day chart trend is down, and yesterday we had a very negative candle. So all we're really doing today is trading back up within a negative candle, not able to take out the top. So what's really happening here, break it down into 1-hour chart. This is a range of yesterday, drawing a fib from high to low across the whole candle. We've just moved up inside yesterday's negative candle to the 79% level, and there could be a probability that we're moving. Today's candle will be moving down like so, because that was a negative candle on the daily yesterday. We just traded it back up within the negativity of yesterday's negative candle, and then we're going to trade down for the rest of the day in all probability. All right. So the thing that I'm really taking that tack from now that I just had a close look at the day chart, is the negative candle on the daily, which is in line with the day chart downtrend. All right. Negative candle. So we've closed below that monthly top, or at least that area of resistance, then that's negative for the pair, and expect further declines then to weekly support down here at 78.64. All right, that's a good complete review of the New Zealand yen, New Zealand dollar. We'll get to this area in a moment. Well, we'll just discuss it now. Day chart trend is down, and we have had a trend line break, failure at the central pivot. I'm going to go through pivots tomorrow for those that don't know them, but for those that do, there's a potential setup there from trend line break, MACD cross setup, failing at the central pivot. All right, let's go through the trends. Monthly trend here is down. Lower top, lower bottom, had a couple of months up, and we're negative for the month. I'm expecting, like I said, on the Aussie dollar, because this is looking very similar, that we'll be closing down for the month and moving further down longer term. Levels to watch. This level of monthly support at 68.04. is the first level of hard support we need to break through. Weekly trend is going to be up because we've had a couple of months up. I'm expecting that this weekly level of support might break. Like I said on the Aussie dollar, these look almost identical. 68.59 is that level. And that's the monthly high to the monthly low there. And what you'll see is we had a 79% retracement. Failed at 79, and then we've been having 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks down. And I've got this line drawn in here because just to reference where the market was trading around 71.70, and I actually sold it at 71.70. I'm still short from that level. And it gave me countless opportunities to trade down from that level. And I'm waiting to see if price can break down the range here. So if I put in the monthly swing range, we failed at 79. Long-term move at the moment, I'm looking for fair at 79% level, trading down to 127 extension at 66.66. 4 6s. All right. So we'll see whether price can make it down there. As I said, I managed to sell it up here at 71.70. Daily chart, seeing lower tops and bottoms. So intraday trading in line with that trend. You can see any rally failed at old support becoming new resistance, exactly like it did on the Aussie dollar. Just looking at my chat. Nathan, you were asking me on the pound yen, would I buy? I think I gave you my commentary there. Just look for a good tight entry, I think, on a trend line break to the upside if it holds at those levels. All right, so New Zealand dollar, low tops and bottoms, held at daily old support, new resistance at 70.72. Let's just mark that in. Just mark it in because price could come back up to that level, hold, move back down. Trend is down. You'll get range bound here for a while. That's the last known broken level of support became new resistance. We could move back up to that level, hold, move back down. So it's a level to watch. For our chart, we've got lower top to lower bottom. So we could rally further up. I'll be watching the 62, 79% levels. See what price does at those levels. On the 15-minute chart, we're already fading at the central pivot. We've got a little bit above. Had a very negative day yesterday. And then when we're expecting a negative day the next day, price often doesn't get much past the central pivot. Got above it by about 5 pips, and you can see it's negative. So that's probably the top for the day. And we're moving down through the course of today. We've had a trend line break through there. You could have traded on the close of that candle, and you're already seeing profit. And the risk on the trade would be about 15, 16 pips. All right, so if this does trade down for the rest of the day, then you can't take this entry now because you're too late. But tomorrow, as I've drawn in my fib, we keep moving down. Well, this is probably going to put a lower top in here. What I was going to say is I'd keep moving my fib down. If that puts in a true lower top, then I wouldn't keep moving my fib down. So I have to see what price does. But looking for an opportunity to trade tomorrow, if this is where we are putting the top today, I'd just be looking like price has done today. Let it rally back up to the central pivot, hold and fail, and then look to trade down from the central pivot. In a strong downtrend, price very rarely gets past the central pivot. So that is a great area just to look for price to hold and fail at, and then trade down from in a downtrend. In a strong uptrend, pull back to the central pivot, hold, and trade back up. All right, just 2 pairs I wanted to look at just from the day chart perspective. I know we've been having some US dollar strength. So just before we finish, I should actually go to the dollar index. This is the weekly chart. Very strongly up to the monthly. We're actually at a monthly area of resistance here. 95.95. And yes, we're in an uptrend on the weekly high tops and bottoms. Is that level going to hold? We've been above it today, but we can see that we're rejecting on the daily charts. So that is US dollar weakness coming in a little bit there at the area. And taking that into mind, when I'm looking at the dollar Canadian, this area of resistance here, held, having a rally back up, but haven't got as high. This might be putting in a lower top. If we have a day down tomorrow, that's going to start putting a lower top. So then if you'd like to trade the dollar Canadian, you'd be looking for opportunities to sell. Dollar franc, it's coming up to a number of areas of resistance at the moment. So if it starts to fail, in line with that failure that we're seeing on the dollar index, that level's at 9,333, then we might be seeing a reversal on some of these pairs. Time will tell. So I'm just seeing the correlation of where price is on the dollar index is at resistance, and then I saw on the dollar franc it's at resistance, and the dollar Canadian is at resistance. So time will tell if these resistance levels will break or hold. Obviously, if the dollar index goes down, that's going to bode well for the dollar yen not being able to live above its major resistance area. All right. Doesn't mean that some of the other pairs to the US dollar can't continue down, like the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar, because what you also have to bear in mind is that the euro dollar has had 5 straight days. Well, 6 straight days down. So if that moves up, the euro dollar, its weight in the dollar index is at least 50% of the makeup. So if the euro dollar has 1 or 2, 3 days up, because its weight is at least 50% of the dollar index, it means the dollar index will pull back. It doesn't though mean that the likes of the Aussie dollar or the New Zealand dollar has to pull back, because their weight in the index is a lot smaller. So that being said, just be aware of what makes up the index. The major portion of the index comes from the euro dollar. So if the euro dollar does pull back, then clearly this is going to pull back downwards. And we might see the dollar franc pull back, because this is highly correlated to the euro dollar. And if we do a bit more review before I finish on the dollar Canadian, the weekly trend here on the dollar Canadian is lower top, lower bottom, and we're rallying to a daily chart resistance. So this could be a weekly lower top, maybe forming there to move down over time. Time will tell. But I just wanted to point out that yes, some pairs are at very strong levels of resistance. Pairs that are priced, US dollar to a currency. So the dollar Canadian, dollar franc, dollar yen, they're at some significant resistance areas at the moment. So that's worth noting. All right, we've got 7 minutes or so to go. If there's a pair that you want me to go through for a final review, or you've got any questions on any of the other pairs that we've gone through tonight, then type it in. While I'm waiting, for those that may have come in late, tomorrow we are going to go through pivot points, 8 p.m. Sydney time. So if you want to jump on board, you can head over to the website. And for those that might be on YouTube, head over to the website and you can register for tomorrow's webinar, so you can come into the webinar and ask questions. All right, I'm going to go through one more pair, and somebody wants me to go through all right, I've got time for one, and I've got 3 people throwing stuff at me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first one. I've still got time. I'll take the second one, and then we'll probably have to call it a day. So the first one, Olufime, you said pound franc. So I'm just going to take them in order. No special favorites. Pound franc. All right, so I've covered this one before recently. Pound franc monthly chart trend is down, making lower top, lower bottom. Weekly trend, lower top, lower bottom. I may have discussed this area before that could hold as resistance, 125.03 from memory. So that's pretty much the figure, 125.03. Daily chart. This is an uptrend, but don't forget the monthly and weekly trends are down. So this is very much counter to what we're seeing on the weekly. Just want to go back to the weekly, put in a fib across that range that we're moving up. And I can see that we're at, well, just fractionally short of the 62, fractionally short of this daily resistance area here. And obviously today we're doing a bit of rejecting. So closing back below, well, we haven't closed above yet, but we traded above today. But if we close below 125.03 today, that's just negative for the pair. So then I would look into the 4-hour chart to see if that turns negative and looking for opportunities to trade down. That would be my general bias on that pair. Looking at the 15 today, I'll just have a quick look. Well, at the moment, until it gets back below 125.03, that pair could hold there and trade up. So if it held there and you trade this pair, you could maybe trade up on a trendline break, moving back up off support. But your high time frame trends are up and you're in a critical area of support/resistance. So I would probably wait for this to break below support, let that area become resistance once more, and look to trade down from the 12500 level if you saw a trade set up. All right, hopefully that helps. Lee, you want any chance for a look at gold? I've got 3 golds and somebody wants, I think, Bitcoin. So let's do all 3. So have a quick look at gold. All right, so from a monthly perspective, we're range bound between support and resistance. Weekly is moved to an uptrend. It broke above this area of resistance. Last week when I reviewed this, we were slightly below resistance, wondering whether or not that's going to hold. It's moved up though to another level of resistance. So the weekly trend is up, but we have a level of resistance here at 1875.74. Day chart is in an uptrend, but clearly that level of resistance, look at the negative candle. So I would anticipate that this is going to pull back to see all these tops here. I'll take this one to the far right because it was the last one that got formed, 1833.96. We could get a pullback to that area if things remain negative. Very negative candle. Often what happens the next trading day is price trades up within that negative candle to the 62.79% retracement area, puts in its intraday top and then trades down. So for our chart, that's showing negative divergence. For our trends turned down to a lower bottom. So as I was saying, draw a fib now across yesterday's range. And then on the 15-minute chart, you could be monitoring the 62.79% levels for failure. At the moment, 118.60, just above the central pivot, looks like it's holding. But if I was trading this myself, I'd want to be getting in further up, like at the 62 and the 79, closer to where prices failed at resistance. All right, so you can monitor that. And then last one was Bitcoin. I think it was Bitcoin, BTC, US dollar. All right, so find it. Here we go. All right, monthly chart. It's rejecting the all-time high at the moment, as we can see. Weekly chart. It's looking negative on the weekly this week, isn't it? Now, in terms of trend, let's just put in that area of resistance from the monthly chart. 64851. I'm just going to do it close enough because it's Bitcoin. All right. I'm sure Bitcoin doesn't stop exactly to the coin on support and resistance. So, but what we are seeing is that on the weekly chart at that area, major area top, we traded above, fell back below, traded above, fell back below. This week we traded above, fell back below. So to me, that this looked like that's where the sellers are, getting rid of all their Bitcoin. So, because it's the all-time high here. Trend is still up though, so it could just pull back to weekly support, 52,928. Hold, and then want to move up. Day chart, put in the lower top, not broken a bottom yet, but if it breaks below 57,429, then that would be clearly negative. Trading intraday, 4-hour chart trend is down. Not sure whether the pivot points work on this pair. They don't work on this pair, so won't go any lower than a 4-hour chart. That's really bad on the eyes. Here we go. So weekly's up, but rejecting monthly resistance, the all-time high. And what we're seeing now is daily's not yet put in a lower bottom, but it's put in a lower top, so that's kind of negative. There's a minor area here that was broken below, so it's kind of negative. You know, if you're trading this instrument, if it got back up to monthly resistance and failed again, I'm guessing that would be a great area to trade down from. In terms of being a buyer, this weekly top here, can it pull back to weekly support, hold, and turn around? What I am noting down the day chart is when we did fail up here, there's negative divergence. So maybe this is a much more of a long-term top. But, you know, to know that it's a longer-term top, that weekly chart trend would need to change. You know, before we got the last collapse down here, it actually put in the lower top, started to show a lower top. It's not showing a lower top on the weekly, but it is showing rejection in that area. So time will tell. But that's the trend. Weekly trend is up, failing at monthly resistance. I think the day chart trend is really getting to down, and the 4-hour trend is down. As to whether we're going to get a long-term reversal, I don't know. It would have to break weekly support first of all, or start putting in a lower top. Then we could probably say yes. So hopefully that helps you. Who asked me that question? Nathan, that was you. All right. All right, I covered everybody's request there, so that's great. All right, everybody, hope you've got some good levels there that you can monitor. Whether you're trading with one of my strategies or you've got your own, but you're using my trend analysis and my levels to help you get into the market, that's all well and good. So thanks very much for attending. As I said, tomorrow we're going to be going through pivot points. So if you haven't done pivot points before, pivot points are the, go to the Aussie, are these, let me go to a chart that's clean. Pivot points are these red, black and green lines I have on my charts. They're calculated intraday possible support and resistance levels for the trading day. I've been talking quite at length tonight about the central pivot point. It's one of the very important ones that the market will hold at in a strong uptrend or downtrend. So if you've never used pivot points before, it's well worth coming to the webinar, getting my charts, and then you can start to use that tool and follow along and see if that's something you want to take on board with your trading. All right, everybody, thanks very much for attending. Have a great evening, stay safe, and hopefully I can catch you again tomorrow in tomorrow's webinar. Thank you.